Alright guys, now before this video, I got a little announcement. Hopefully by the time that you guys are watching this, I'll be on the road 7 hours in one direction to go get a new piece of equipment for the shop and for the channel. Now I'm not going to tell you what this piece of equipment is yet, because it's not a done deal yet. It's never done until it's done. I assume you guys know how that works. So hopefully it all works out. If it does, I'll be sure to let you know, and if it doesn't, I'll let you know again. So it's a pretty neat piece of equipment, fairly unique, something that I don't know anybody who has one, and I've never run one myself. So it's an older piece of equipment, but I think that it will give us some new and exciting content, if nothing else, you know, maybe a tear down, a rebuild, or just a general restoration. I don't know yet, we'll see when we get it, but the video that's coming up is pretty much just filler. I mean, it's a good video, but I had to film pretty quick because I've been really busy this week getting everything ready for this trip. It's quite a big deal for me. That's a long way. So look forward to that, guys. Hopefully between now and next Saturday, I'll post a video showing this machine, and then maybe next Saturday we'll get to use it some, or at least get a really in-depth look at it. So look forward to that, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching, all my old subscribers and all my new ones. You know, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you guys, and I really appreciate it. So hope you enjoy the upcoming video, and stay tuned, because hopefully we'll have some new equipment in here soon. Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Now, I got a quick video today. I'm just out here messing around, and I want to share with you what I'm doing. I've got the rotary table on the shaper. I'm going to try some straight line knurling, and I want you to check it out. So come on in, I'll show you what we're doing, and we'll get started. Alright, so got the rotary table on the shaper, and not something you commonly see. I've done it before, but only a couple times. So I always enjoy it. It's fun. Just to try something different, and that's all I'm doing here, is trying something different. Now let me show you what I want to do. I want to make an adjustment nut. Now you can see this one. Now I made this one a while back, and it looks pretty good. Common knurl, done on the lathe, looks fine, serves its purpose perfectly, and is good enough. But what made me want to do this is that I seen that these standard nuts that come on these tool holders that actually did not work with my tool post, because this bottom is too small and they slide right past the stop, is straight line knurled. And this knurl runs parallel with the bore of this nut. So I want to try to hold this at a 45-degree angle and come in with the shaper and make some, you know, cross or some straight line knurling that's not exactly straight. This rotary table is set up at 45 degrees, and I want to show you how I've done that. This tool is just a long piece of tool steel. I've got plenty of long pieces of tool steel, and I had to do that simply to clear this setup, because when this is coming in and out, I don't want to I don't have much clearance here at the chuck jaws, so I couldn't use a standard carbide tool holder in the shaper, so I had to use just a standard piece of long tool steel. And I want to bring in, show you how I'm going to hold this guy, show you how I set it up at 45 degrees. We're going to explain a little more about what I plan to do, and then we'll get started. Alright, now the edge of this table is parallel with the movement of the ram of the shaper. And all I did was take my protractor head from my combination square, set it up on the edge of the table, and bring it in and set the base of my rotary table true with the rule. So now I'm confident that the rotary table is set up at 45 degrees. But that presents a problem, because I don't necessarily have the clamps to come in here and hold this down because of the, you know, the severe angle that it's at. Well, I'm going to have to use a combination of things here. Let me show you. I've got a standard clamp here. I'll set it right there, and then bring this clamp in and clamp on a clamp. Now that's not something you commonly see, but it works just fine. It will hold this securely and serve its functioning just fine. Let's go around to the other side of the table. We'll get this thing clamped down, we'll center it up, and we'll make some cuts. Alright, so I put 3 clamps on this. One here, one down here, and then the one you see in the back. I want more than 1 clamp or so, or 2 clamps on this thing. I want to spread out the load over the foot of this. This is a fairly tall, setup, so there's going to be a lot of leverage on this thing, even with fairly light cutting pressure. And we're just going to be nibbling away at this, but we need to make sure that this is secured to the table properly. So that's what we did. 3 clamps. I think that's sufficient. And we need to center this cutter up, over the highest portion of this nut. Now, this is not a critical operation in this particular instance, but what I'm going to do is the same thing that I would do on a milling machine in a rough operation, where you want to get really close, but you're not necessarily trying to be dead accurate. And I'm just going to color what I think is the highest point of this nut, and I've already got one that's not knurled in this chuck already, simply for time's sake. And all I'm going to do is bring out the ram of the shaper where it will pass over top of it, and I'm going to move it back and forth under the cutter, incrementally raising the table slightly until I get a little scuff mark in the blue that I just put on this nut with a Sharpie. And wherever this touches that blue will be the highest, or the summit, of this nut, and we'll just by eye center the cutter with that mark that we make, and we'll call that good enough. So just incrementally raise the table or lower the compound, and there we go. Just hit it right there. So now that is the top. So let me get you at a better angle, and we'll make some cuts on this guy. Alright, so I got you in a little closer, and just to make this a little clearer is what I was doing. I put a little blue Sharpie on the top and moved that cutter back and forth, slightly lowering the cutter until it scuffed that blue just ever so slightly. And wherever it touches that blue is basically the peak of this radius. So I can just come in and line that up by eye, and that's all I've done. And that'll get me relatively close to the top, because I don't want to come in, over to the side. Now, we're going to be rotating this rotary table between cuts 10 degrees. I'm just going to be doing it by hand, just lining up the marks on this rotary table. So we're not going to be trying anything ridiculously accurate, simply because we don't know how it's going to turn out to begin with. I don't know exactly how deep I'm going to cut. We'll experiment as we go, because that's what this is all about, just messing around. So let's get this shaper fired up. We'll get started, and we'll figure out what we're going to do while we're doing it. Now I'm just going to raise this table up into that cutter until I'm satisfied with the depth of cut. I'm 1-0, and I've locked my rotary table. And I'm just going to bump it up. There we go, we made contact. And I'm just going to continue to bump it up until I get the look that I want. I don't want to spend all day cutting on this. We're just going to do it in one pass, and I hope that will, that our setup will be plenty strong enough to handle that. It should be. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the depth of the cut there. So I'm going to stop, rotate 10 degrees. lock my rotary table and yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, rotate 10 again. Pretty good. Here's a neat little tool. All it is, this is just a piece of aluminum with a bearing on it. Simple, but effective. And let me show you what I'm planning to do with it. You see our run out here? All we want to do is clean this guy up. We're just going to use a file, but a little demonstration here. So I'm just going to, I got my qiuck jaws just snug on this. I'm going to bring this bearing in. bump it up against my part. And it trues it right up. Then I come in, tighten my jaws a little more, and we're true. I mean, true enough for what we're doing. Take the file, just clean off those burrs I raised with that shaper tool. Just ever so lightly. I like that. Let's go to the bench and look at it. Well, I think that turned out pretty good. You know, we got pretty good results if you ask me. Definitely looks neat. Definitely better than the factory straight line knurl. I mean, that looks pretty nasty, to be honest. And that looks pretty trick. I think that the ones I done earlier, which I blackened, look pretty good also. But there you go. You know, a shaper is not just for making flat surfaces. You are only limited by your imagination and tooling. So, just a neat little short video, guys. I'm glad I got to share it with you. If you haven't, make sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my little guy up here and give me a thumbs up. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.